Ever since we've been able to look up at the stars, or really look into the eyes of another person, we've been asking this one huge question. Where do we come from? It's a question that kind of haunts us. You can find it in our art, in our science, and deep in our souls. And to try and answer that, we've gone down two very different roads. One is this epic story told by time itself. You could say it's written in the language of ancient bone and stone. The other, well, that's a story of divine origin, written in the sacred ink of Scripture. So today, we're going to journey down both of these ancient paths to really understand the stories they tell about who we are. So let's start with our first story, and this one doesn't begin with a word, but with the earth itself. We're heading to the sun-scorched badlands of Ethiopia, a place that holds the deep, deep memory of our planet, and, it turns out, of us. Okay, let's really wind the clock back here. And I'm not talking about centuries or even thousands of years. We're going back millions of years. We are deep in the Pliocene epoch, a world just teeming with life, where the very first whispers of our own human family were just starting to stir. So picture this. It's a hot November day in 1974. A paleoanthropologist, Donald Johanson, and his student, Tom Gray, are out scanning a dry gully. Suddenly, Johanson's eye catches a glint of bone. And that one piece leads to another, and then another, until, unbelievably, they've uncovered about 40% of a single skeleton. That night at their camp, with the Beatles' Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds playing on repeat, this incredible ancient ancestor got her name, Lucy. And the story Lucy's bones told us, it was an absolute game changer. See, her skull was small, not much bigger than a chimp's, but her pelvis and her leg bones were a completely different story. They were clearly built for walking upright. And that was the key insight. Our ancestors stood up and walked on two legs long before our brains got big. Walking tall came first. Now, as you can see from this timeline, Lucy wasn't the absolute beginning, but she was such a critical chapter in this immense story. Before her, you had other early members of our family tree, the hominids, like Sahelanthropus. And after her, you see these key developments, like stone tools, which eventually led to us, Homo sapiens. Lucy is just this brilliant fossilized link in an incredible chain of evolution. All right, now we're going to leave that Ethiopian dust behind and enter a completely different landscape. A world that begins not with a slow, gradual emergence, but with a single divine act. We're turning to a story that starts in a garden. The Abrahamic traditions, we're talking Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, they all share this really foundational starting point. The idea is that humanity doesn't rise from other creatures, but is formed directly from the elements of the earth by a creator. Just like the Quran says, we are fashioned from clay, from the very dust beneath our feet. And the way it's described, it's this incredibly deliberate, almost intimate process. First, dust and water are mixed to make clay. From that humble material, a form is carefully shaped. But it's lifeless until the final crucial step. A divine spirit, a breath of life from God, animates the form and makes it Adam, the first man. But Adam wasn't meant to be alone. From his own body, a companion is formed. And in the original Hebrew text, the connection is just so profound. It's woven right into the language. She is called Isha, which means woman, because she was taken from Ish, which means man. They are two separate beings, but they begin as one. So they're placed in this perfect world, the Garden of Eden. But their story isn't about just existing. It's all defined by a choice. They can eat from any tree they want, except for one, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And this one single rule sets the stage for the entire drama of human history that comes next. So now we have these two really profound origin stories, don't we? One is about deep time and gradual change, and the other is about immediate creation and moral purpose. And when we put them side by side, we can really start to see the different portraits of humanity they paint. And the contrast is pretty stark. The scientific story talks about an emergence over millions of years, with figures like Lucy being these crucial transitional forms. And we understand all this through physical evidence, like fossils. On the other hand, the Abrahamic story describes a special creation, right at the beginning of time, with Adam as the first complete human, a truth understood through revelation and sacred texts. Now, something that's really important to get is that neither of these stories is just a single, unchanging thing. In science, you have these passionate debates, like the out of Africa versus the multi-regional models for how humans spread. And in the same way, the creation story is interpreted with all sorts of rich and varied nuances across Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. They are both living, breathing traditions of inquiry and faith. So at the end of the day, these are so much more than just accounts of where we came from. They're really stories we tell ourselves about who we are. They give us a framework for figuring out our place in the whole cosmos. The story of Lucy, it connects us to this immense tapestry of life on Earth. It reminds us that we are a product of this planet's deep and powerful history. The story of Adam and Eve, well, that gives humanity a unique purpose, a kind of moral compass, and a special relationship with the divine. It frames our whole existence as a story of choice and consequence. So one story grounds us in the earth, the other has us reaching for the heavens. One speaks of adaptation, the other of obedience. And so we're kind of left to wonder, right? How does the beginning we imagine for ourselves end up shaping the future we choose to build? The answer isn't written in ancient stone or in a secret text. It's being written by us, right now.